As of November 5th, 2024, the government is going to track your steaks, whether you like it or not. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to mandate that farms install electronic ID tags, RFID tags, on all of their cattle that cross state lines. So that means if a farm takes their cow to a slaughterhouse that is across state lines, or if they transport their cattle across state lines for any reason, they are required to have electronic ID tags. Now the problem with this is not only that they're going to track your steak, but it's also the fact that these electronic ID tags are about twice the cost as ear tags. So of course, Big Ag, the large producers, they can handle that cost. The smaller guys at the bottom cannot absorb that cost, thus reducing their overall profit margins even more. And this is not a good thing, because every time one of these regulations goes into effect, it drives up the cost of meat. And not only does it drive up the cost of meat, but it also destroys local family-owned farms, and more farms close, which further consolidates the meat industry and makes us more reliant on the industrial food complex, the big four meat packers. It limits our availability to the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, which of course is meat. It hurts our local economies, and it drives up cost. So in a nutshell, it restricts and limits our access to meat. Another problem with that is these RFID tags don't allow the cattle to be visually recognized, like from a distance. So what they'll end up having to do is double tag these cows. So they'll have to put an electronic tag on there plus the ear tag so that they can visibly see the cattle. So that's twice the cost. And they're saying for free range cows that are actually raised on pasture, when the cows go out and they come back, there are only 50% of the RFID tags left because they've essentially lost them. So that means they'll have to tag their cattle more often, and the RFID tags and the equipment has to be replaced every 4 years. So that's even more cost. So again, all these policies, they just drive up the cost of meat. They limit and restrict our access to it. And they're already predicting, probably because of these policies, that the price of meat through 2025 and 2026 is going to increase substantially. And that's on top of the price of meat almost doubling within the last 4 years and going up over 5.2% just in 2024. So that's a terrible thing, and it's really scary to think about, especially for people who rely on meat to maintain their health. And obviously there's nobody in our corner. Nobody's coming to save us. So what can we do about this? The most important and the most impactful thing that we can do to combat this is to buy from our local producers, our local farms, ranchers, butcher shops as often as possible. And what this does is creates a market outside of the industrial food complex. And that is essentially voting with our dollars. If we can move our money away from these big meat packers, away from these big distributors, away from these industries that proliferate when these types of things go into effect, and over to our local farms and butcher shops, it's going to keep our hard-earned money in our local economies, which is very, very important. And as we build a more loyal and strong customer base around these local producers, they're able to pass on their success to the consumers, because the more money they make, they can essentially set their own prices. And from what I've seen, because I've been all over the country, and I found a lot of local producers that have very, very strong and loyal customer bases, and each and every one of those have prices that are substantially less than what you can find in the local grocery stores. And that is the case for the area I live in right now. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll see that the price of meat here is very, very cheap from some of the local producers. And that's because they have a very strong customer base here. But we need to establish that everywhere, because the thinner their margins are, the less they're able to comply to these tyrannical mandates, and the more farms and the more businesses are going to close. So now that we know about this, and we know the government's trying to track our steaks, let's get ahead of this now. Let's support our local producers, and let's give them a reason to stay in business. Now, if you're looking for local farms and butcher shops in your area, I built the farm map that has over 7,200 listings on it. I'll put a link in the description below where you can access that for free. Please use it. I worked very, very hard on that for this specific reason. If you're searching your area and you can't find something near you, there are plenty of local producers that ship and have delivery routes, so that's always an option. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Are you cool with the government tracking your steaks, or would you rather they not do that? And if you found a local producer in your area, let me know what you thought about it. How was the quality? How was the pricing? And share your overall experience, because I think a lot of people will find that shopping from local producers is a much better experience than going to the grocery store to try to get your meat. And the very unfortunate thing is this is not the only thing that's going to drive up the price of meat. If you want to learn how new regulations that go into effect August 2025 are going to drive up the price of meat by 20% and lead to over 317,000 people losing their job, click on this video right here.